All right, well, welcome back to the farm. In today's video, we're going to be doing some transplanting out in the field. If you're new around here, consider subscribing. It helps us grow the channel, as you can imagine. So let's just dive right into today's video. Okay, well, we've been hardening these bok choys off for a few days now, and we're going to be planting them right up at the front here by the sale house, which will be nice. When people come, they can see that what we got planted already for the season. And then for spacing on the bok choy, we're running them full head this time, not baby bok choys. So we're going to run them 3 rows, 12 inches on the row, let them size up nice and big. I think we got a bit of direct seeding to do as well. So we're going to see popping all these out into a standard daisy tray 1020. And it's just easier. And then I'll just go down the row or the bed and drop them at all the cross points of the grid that I've lined out. And then I can come through and plant them all out. It's a little faster than trying to pop them out one at a time out there. Okay, well, the forecast for the foreseeable future is going to be above 0 at night. So I'm going to come through and just pull all these hoops. You can see I just stirrup-hoed the beets. So we're going to clean up this and then stirrup-hoe all of the rest of the beets. So that's kind of the one thing about running 2 layers. This is kind of a pain to clean them up. I'd rather go with one thicker layer early in the spring, being that we don't really leave them on for all that long. And then I'm not sure, but this is, in my opinion, the best way to store these things is to daisy chain them together. They take up way less space and you can keep them organized. You know, when you grab one, it's one and all not tangled up and whatnot. So we'll get those other 3 wrapped up and then we'll move on. Okay, well, I was just out there finishing cleaning up and I got to thinking about that one last bed. That's all block 1 is pretty well planted except for one bed. And I was wondering what was going in there because I was thinking I could probably just do it today while I was out, but I looked it up and it's head lettuce and it's going in on the 6th, so 5 more days. So I just came into the nursery to look to see how big it is, and it's like tiny. It's not going to be ready in time. So that's the other benefit again about having that seedling sale. I just went up, had a quick chat with Shaylin, and there's a bunch of lettuce up there that's way too big. It just hasn't sold yet. So we're going to take what we need for the seedling sale, or from the seedling sale. We'll bring it out, we'll harden it off for 2 or 3 days. And then what we'll do is that we're not really losing anything, right? Because now that'll just get potted up and then go to the seedling sale in a week or 2. So it's just always being able to pivot slightly, having a bit of a game plan and making a change when needed. So I brought those out, we'll let them harden off. And I think we're going to jump in and go do some direct seeding. So you can see these things are just massive. Damn near ready to eat. So they'll be a lot better. So we're gonna go with half a bed of butter crunch and then half a bed of romaine. So 95% of the seeding done on this farm is done with the Jang single row seeder. Anything that gets into the bigger seeds, like beans, peas, that sort of thing, we use the earth way. But for what we've been doing and at our current scale, we just run the Jang single and it works quite well. You can get them in more in as well. Like I think they do a 5 and a 3, so it'd be 3 of these kind of all bolted together, which we'll get one day, but for now everything's been good with the Jang. And then we just have multiple different rollers with different size seed holes, which is kind of nice. And then you basically just change your spacing by increasing and decreasing the gear reduction by changing sprockets. So they come with different size sprockets, so depending on whether you put a big one on the front, the back, vice versa, you can achieve different spacing. So we run all 24 hole, and that just means that there's 24 holes on each roller. And then pretty well everything that we do for beets, radishes, and whatnot is usually around the middle here. So between 2 inches and 1.3 inches is kind of where we spend most of our time. We don't really get too far down this way or down this way. So that's kind of it. It's a pretty handy little tool. Okay, so to start things off, we're gonna run and do our, we got a mini kale bed to do, a single, and then we've got 2 rows of carrots number 2. So we'll get that all set up right now. For the carrots, we run the X24 roller, and then we run a 13 on the front and an 11 on the rear. It gets you about 1.5 to 2 inch spacing. And then the other thing that's kind of neat about these seeders is that they come with this brush adjustment, so you can lower it higher and lower depending on how much you want it to touch the roller. And then it also has an insert, like a felt insert, that some crops we use it on and some crops we don't. With carrots and radishes, as well as the baby kale, we take it out because we actually want more to kind of, if it comes out, the felt will keep it and won't let it fall out until it hits the very bottom. So it's a little bit more uniformed. But with carrots, radishes, and baby kale, turnips, I think we leave it in. But anyways, those other ones, you take it out, and then actually it allows the seed to start falling out as it starts to come around the back of the circle, which almost creates more of a scatter seed. So it's a nicer fill on the row. So we'll get this swapped over, and then we'll jump over and start rolling these things in. So one thing I'll always try and do is I'll always go ahead and I'll prep a bunch of beds the day before. And then the next day is when I'll start to do my direct seeding and my transplanting. I just find it to be a little bit more streamlined that way. You kind of get in the zone, bang out a bunch of beds with prep, and then you can kind of get yourself and a few other people doing direct seeding and transplanting. It also allows your compost to cool down. Like we just got our first load of compost of the season delivered yesterday, and it's pretty hot, like just physically warm still. So what I like to do is actually go and lay it out in the beds and let it sit for a day and water it to cool it down, so that when you put your transplants in there, you're not burning the plants and kind of shocking them a little bit. So that's also one thing I'll do. So we're just gonna go grab some seeds. Well, if you guys have been following along so far this year, you probably remember us putting this fridge here with our seed storage in there, and it's been working good. It's been keeping up. It hasn't been getting too hot and overworking the compressor or anything. Shaylin's managed to keep everything still organized, so it's a nice spot. Everybody knows where to go, where to find seeds. So again, got to keep your stuff organized. Okay, so for seeds for today, we are going to be needing carrots and kale mix. The labels all wore off on that, but I'm pretty sure that is what we need. Looks right. Shot in the dark. Maybe it does say. Yeah, that's what we need. Calibration mix, which is like a baby kale blend, real sweet. And we gotta find the carrots. Right there. So we are running Napoli carrots. So it's like a coreless, sweet, nice bunching carrot. We run those predominantly for the whole season, and then we'll switch for our winter carrots. I can't remember what Shaylin picked for this year, but they are different. They'll be more of a long-term storage that we can keep in the walk-in cooler over the winter months and continue to sell. So the one thing about this seeder is that because it's a single row, you kind of have to plan your passes. So it takes a bit of time to figure that out, what works best. But for what I'm doing here, I'm doing 6 rows. So I know that my wheel just needs to touch every time the previous pass all the way down, and I'll fit 6 rows easily on a 30-inch bed. And then one thing you want to just watch for is you want to make sure that the seeds are coming out, that the sprocket's spinning on the chain, etc., just so that you know you're actually laying seed down. And then another good thing to do too is actually weigh the hopper, like the amount of seed that you put in the hopper prior, and then the amount that you have at the end, so that you kind of have a rough gauge as to how much seed you actually put in the bed. Okay, carrots went good. Now we'll switch to that baby kale blend. And one thing that I'll try to do too is I'll try to like group, how do I word that? Plantings that require the same seed roller and whatnot the same day, so you're not constantly screwing around with this thing. So the nice thing about this setup is that the gear ratios is the same for what we're doing today. The only thing I got to change is the roller from an X24 to an F24. So a little bit bigger hole, not by a lot. Like there's the two side by side. So it's a little bit bigger. And then what'll end up happening is in each one of these holes, you'll probably get like 3 to 5 little kale blend seeds. So as it dumps it, you get a nice blend of seeds. So that's really the only thing that we have to change. Everything else stays the same. So that's usually why I try to block things together that make the most sense. It's just easier and there's less changing. Because at the end of the day, on a small scale farm, it's all about efficiency. So we'll load this hopper up and we'll get back to doing passes. So when you're seeding 9-row crops with the single row, it gets a little tough because you're constantly having to basically drive over the little windrow that it leaves behind when you make a pass. So it's easy to kind of lose it. And then what can happen is that when you drive over that windrow, now you just put a bunch of dirt on top of your previous road center where the plant's going to try to grow. So as you scale, I would highly recommend getting the larger one of these that does more beds at a time. Get the 6-row or even a 6-row seeder. Or if you could do the 3-row and just run 4 passes, or 3 passes, I guess it'd be, because you won't have that same problem. I'm just not at a scale with my 9-row crops that I need that yet. When I start planting, say like 2 or 3 beds of them at a time, it would make more sense. But right now, the single row, I just am making it work. But it's not perfect. If you're looking for like the ideal solution, if you're doing more of a scale planting at 9 rows, I'd get the bigger one. Okay, so what we're gonna do now is this is planted, so I'll get water on this guy, and then we just planted those 2 rows there of carrots, but I don't want to water those yet because I got to go over here Those all got prepped yesterday. So we got 4 rows of beets and then 2 rows of spinach. So we're gonna go start transplanting over there while this is getting watered in. And then once I'm done, we'll switch the water and then water that whole block at the back. Okay, so you can probably see here that we didn't have great germination again on this, what would this be? I guess 3rd round of beets. There's lots that just didn't do much. So we're allocated for 4 beds, but I think we'll maybe get 3 here. So we'll have to come up with a plan for extras. So it goes 4 beds of beets and then 2 beds of spinach. There's a good chance there might be spinach left, so I'll make sure that I start the beets on the edge. That way, if there's extras, I could just do 3 beds of spinach instead. So we'll just try to play that out as we go here, but we'll start popping all the good cells anyways, leave the ones that aren't great. And if we have to use them, we will, but start popping these now. Okay, well, we managed to get those beets in. I think we only got 2 beds instead of the 4. The rest are looking a little bit, I don't know, less than good. So we'll, I think, stick with 2 beds for now. And then it's just getting too hot. So we usually try to do our transplanting in the morning or in the evening, like not way late, but when it's a little bit cooler, especially when we don't have a bunch of people to help. If we got a full deck of people here, we'll usually just try to crank it out. But being that it's just me doing it today, we're running a little bit behind, so call it good on transplanting today, and then yeah, we'll get back at it probably tomorrow. Tomorrow morning we'll do cauliflowers and some salanova, broccoli. Okay, well, now that those beets are done, we're gonna get some mister lines on everything that we direct seeded today. We don't usually use our overhead, the larger sprinkler system, for direct seeded crops. I find that it doesn't lay enough water down consistently throughout the bed for good germination. So we will always run a mister line and hit it hard for probably like 2 hours when we first do it, and then we'll hit it for like 15 minutes, probably 4 times throughout the day to keep the surface wet, so that the seeds are constantly staying wet so that they germinate consistently all at the same time. You don't have like weird patches where it grows and then the rest doesn't come up for another 4 or 5 days. So all these are is a small, I think it's Dannon, I think is the name, on like a 12-inch riser, and then we run them every 5 feet, and then same thing, it's just on the same black poly pipe. We just run a hose fitting to it. So these get moved all throughout the year from direct seeded crop to direct seeded crop, and they just bounce around. And then once things germinate, then we switch everything over to the main irrigation. It just seems to have worked better for us in the past. Now what we'll do is we'll just wait until we're done watering at the back there where we put those beets in, and then I'll come and hit this a little bit before this evening, let it get a good saturation, and then we'll hit it again tomorrow. But this is the best way that I've found. We've struggled with germination, especially in the summertime in the past, and the minute that we switched to mister lines, it made a huge difference. It just makes it so that you get consistency throughout. You don't have weird patches of germination and then nothing and then germination again. So highly recommend it, guys. If you can source these things out, I would do it. These ones here I actually got from an orchard not too far from here, about an hour and a half. A guy was selling them on Marketplace. He was upgrading his orchard system, and he would run these down in between the trees because they lay tons of water down. You can get different nozzles and pretty well everything to customize it to your setup, but what I've found for this is that I can easily span 4 beds, so I'll run it down the middle and it'll spray 2 on one side, 2 on the other with good overlap. And then it also will help alleviate any wind issues because you can move them a little bit. If it's a little bit windy coming from one direction, you can use that flex line to bring it a little bit closer to guarantee you get spray. And then they're just spaced out at 5-foot intervals for my situation here. Okay, well, I figured now's as good a time as any to give you guys just a quick rundown as to where we are for the season here. So as you can see, the nursery is still quite full. We got to move a bunch of stuff to greenhouse 2 and then a bunch of stuff up to the sale house as well. We got a bunch of marigolds to pot up. The last bit of hot peppers, I think that's round 2. A few cucumbers. This is all round 2 cucumbers, so again, they're ready for sale. Just finished doing all these tomatoes this week, so they're gonna need to size up a little bit more. More tomatoes and sweet peppers up here. And then everything on this side has been pretty well converted to garden stuff. So this is all for our farm. I think we got Salanova 5, green onions 4, starting to see some cabbages. All these field peppers here in the middle, they need to be potted up. They'll be going into the garden as well. And then we're starting to see cabbages come through. Second round of spinach, broccolis, another round of beets here. As you can see, it's filling up pretty fast. It's been pretty steady. We haven't seen a whole lot of sales yet. It's still pretty early. I think within the next month or two, or sorry, not month or two, in the next week or so, we got Mother's Day coming and then another couple long weekends here. So it'll start picking up in the sale house itself, but let's just jump into greenhouse 2 and I'll show you guys the overflow house. It's pretty darn full. We got ginger starting to sprout. We got a few that didn't quite make it. They kind of rotted in the pot, so they are still just coming up though. You can see here that there's still a few just coming. I don't think they get planted out for like another week, so they're late. I'll just let them size up even more, but they're coming around. I think I might even give them 2 weeks. And then Shaylin spent a better part of the day today just organizing the fundraiser. So we had a bunch of veggie starts from greenhouse 1 that we pulled for the fundraiser. So everything here gets delivered in a week. So we'll go through here over the next couple days and just make sure that everything's good, prune back what we have to. But that it's gonna be nice to free up this whole side because I got things to plant in here. Greenhouse cherry tomatoes. I spaced them out, I think 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, from 10 on a flat to 6. And they are looking really good. They're probably about 18 inches tall. And they got the fruit cluster starting already. The flowers, I guess, is probably a better way to word that, but they look really good here. So that's 1 row's worth. So I think that what I'll end up doing is that this will probably be the side to empty off first, or empty out. So we'll move all that stuff here next week and then start shaping that bed and start punching them in. And then we still got, I think this stuff's all going tomorrow. We got 1 more delivery. And then a lot of that stuff that we just showed you down in the nursery will get brought up here just as a holding pen. But the baskets are going pretty crazy. I gotta see about spacing them out. They're starting to kind of grow into each other again. I've already spaced them and did a lower on the big ones. So we staggered them up and down, but you can see that they're kind of starting to shade each other out. So we'll still try to make a little bit more room, but they're starting to show a lot of color. So this house has been a bit of a mess here this last little while. There's just been so much product in here. And it's been in an impressively warm spring. I think it's been averaging about like 10 degrees above, historical averages. So everything's just growing absolutely crazy in here. So we're slowly starting to make some space, but we also have greenhouse peppers to go in. Again, they're not quite ready. We got a little bit more time on them. And then greenhouse cucumbers struggled hard this year. We ended up getting some bacterial wilt, so they were just shriveling up and dying. So I think I ended up with like a quarter of what I need. So again, they're supposed to be in already, I think as of 2 weeks ago. I'm holding them back, but once we start moving some baskets in the next week or so, I'll probably start putting a few of them in, and then we actually had to do a whole nother replant, which are just in the nursery now. So I don't know what happened. That's 2 years in a row that we've actually had that bacterial wilt. So I don't know if it's something in the pots that I was using or if it's just bad seed or what the deal is. We might try a different variety next year. But anyways, that's an update on what's going on in greenhouse 2. And then greenhouse 1, the sale house, is absolutely full. So a lot of the patio planters, the 10-inch, are sizing up pretty good. We'll have to feed them here in the next few days. Got a few big peppers in patio planters, which are really nice. Again, they're starting to flower as well. But good and healthy. Herb planters. Shaylin just went through and stole a bunch of the plants out of here for the fundraiser. So we got peppers all at the front. A few tomatoes left. We got round 2 just down in the nursery. Some of the zucchinis and squashes are massive. And then same thing, baskets in here are looking good. They're a little bit farther behind. It's a little bit cooler in this house. And then this is where I stole the lettuce from today. You can still see there's a whole bunch left. Petunias for days. And then we got round 2 under the table. So lots of them. Impatiens, coleus. And then all this is left over from the hanging baskets that we did. So it's slowly starting to move. The osteos finally went into flower. Dahlia's just coming. All right, you guys, well, that's going to be it for today's video. We managed to get some planting done out in the field, which was nice with the good weather. And then just a quick greenhouse tour to finish things off. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.